Welcome back, guys. I hope that you have all been having a really good week. As far as the campaign, it was quite an interesting one. Not a huge amount happened, but I think we're definitely at a new location for it. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting week 3. But yeah, I hope everyone's been doing well. Just quickly read the comments. Thanks for putting this on. You're welcome. No worries. Yeah, definitely just made it in time. I think I was actually late, so well done. Good evening from the train between Sheffield and Goole in Yorkshire. Early is definitely better than being late. Yes, for sure. And just caught in a traffic jam and was sweating whether I'd make it home in time. Oh, well, luckily you did, so that's good. But yeah, thanks guys for joining in. Do any of you have any questions about what happened this turn before we get started? And if you can hear a sort of chewing noise in the background, it's just my dog. He's decided that he needs to groom himself. Anyway, so let's do a recap actually of last turn. What happened? So weather-wise, last turn it was raining quite heavily. The Union troops were at Mount Jackson and they managed to withdraw up to Strasbourg. There were also Union troops which came down, so they've all converged. The Confederates, due to the heavy rain and Jackson's wound, got slowed, and they avoided being able to catch those retreating Union troops. So they're kind of set up at whatever town this is, Woodstock. Same sort of situation happened in the east. General Ewell was trying to pursue the retreating Union troops, but again, due to the bad weather, he wasn't able to catch them. So not a huge amount happened up here, apart from the Union getting into better defensive positions and the Confederates just gaining a little bit of ground. In the sort of central area, you had the two Union forces which have now converged, and that's under General Fremont. And down in the south, no change. These two armies under Johnson and some unnamed Union commander are just kind of staring each other off at the moment. There was a detachment of infantry for the Confederates. They got to Harrisonburg, and they're just holding up there at the moment, so nothing too much for them. So that's kind of where we were at the end of turn 2. So what we can do to start with is roll for initiative and see who's going to get it this turn. 3-3 plus Confederates have got the map, which was from the historical point last turn, which gives them an initiative boost. So that pushes the Confederates up to 4. So Confederates get the initiative this turn. Confederates. Hey, Luke, how you doing? Cool. So we've got Confederates with initiative for turn 3. That's going to be useful for them. Historical events, I was just looking through, and we've got no historical events this turn. We will next turn, but not this turn. Weather, should have done that first. What's the weather going to be doing this time? So last week it was heavy rain. This week we've got 7. And it's April. Fog. Oh, no, sorry. Light rain. So light rain this week for weather. Just write that up there. Light rain. So hopefully the heavy thunderstorms are passing on and we can get back to some better fighting weather. What will light rain do in a battle? So if there's any pitched battles, it just reduces the movement of all the units by 2 centimeters. So just because the ground is a bit more boggy. So I guess that's going to have a benefit for the defenders due to the fact that it's going to take the attackers longer to cover the ground. So they'll probably get an extra, I don't know, round of shooting in on them. So could make all the difference. As I said, yeah, no historical events. Let's write that down. And then Union random events. This turn, they've got a 4. Choose a unit in your army and reduce its cohesion by 4, just due to casualties and attrition. Okay, so 4. So I guess a few of their troops did get caught as they were withdrawing. Hey, Luke, another good night ahead. Hope all is good. Yeah, so far New Zealand's doing pretty well. No rain for a few days, which has been quite nice. So hopefully it won't start halfway through. So Union got 4. That's -4 cohesion to 1 army. Cool. So yeah, a few troops obviously got caught by the Confederate cavalry as they were withdrawing through the storms, but nothing too major. I know. Every time it's something bad for them. Let's see what the Confederates get for their random event this time. They rolled a 4 as well. Double time. One of your armies can move an extra bound with no penalty on the strategic map. Use now or save for your next movement turn. Okay. So that could be interesting for the Confederates. 1 times extra move for one army. Cool. Next up, we've got the detachments, which each army is gaining. Where is that? Logistics. So yeah, at the end of last turn, when I was going through all the numbers, all the bookkeeping after we've gone live, I was just trying to see if they would all actually still be inside. And as of the end of last turn, the Union Army and Jackson's Army, they're both on. If they have one more unit each, then they'll be struggling and they'll start to lose a little bit of cohesion, just because they will be overwhelming the available in the towns and will be requiring supplies from the supply depots. So one more unit and they're going to be on that line. But at this stage, they're okay. So, so that's going to come into effect when we start talking about right now the detachments. So as I said, each turn, both sides get 1 detachment free. We've got infantry, we've got cavalry, we've got artillery. So as you guys are taking sides sometimes for the Union and the Confederates, for the Confederates, what do you think we should get? Artillery, infantry, or cavalry? And for the Union, same question. And then also, whereabouts do you reckon they should come in? So for the Union, they could arrive at Manassas Gap, Hagerstown, or Cumberland. And for the Confederates, Charlottesville or Staunton. Yeah, rebel yell. Next time we win a battle, I'll do one. Yeah, I enjoy the comments. So, I mean, for the Confederates, my opinion is probably to get either infantry or artillery in Staunton, and then we can send it up to Harrisonburg. And then at that stage, it would be available to either support Jackson if he needs them, Johnson if he needs them, or just to try and slow down a Union advance if they come through. And from the Federals' perspective, I would probably say Manassas Gap, as they're filing in more troops from Virginia itself. And then we'll be able to support Front Royal and try and blunt Ewell, or we can send them down and try and flank him. But that's my thoughts. Artillery going to Harrisburg. So yeah, cool. I'm happy with that. So, okay, cool. We'll write that down for the Confederates. Artillery to Harrisonburg. Cool. So that would basically start there, and then it'll march up. And what have we got? Federal reinforcements from Manassas Gap. Yep. And Federal infantry to the east. So I guess that's the same. Are you all thinking infantry for the Federals, cavalry, or artillery? So if I've got 1 vote for infantry, I think I would probably say infantry too. Just give you a couple of moments to consider that. What's that? Have a drink. What do we have left? So, good question. Let me refer to our previous couple of turns. The last turn, the Federals had artillery. So they got an artillery unit and sent that across. And the turn before, the Union got cavalry. So you've still got 2 artillery, 2 cavalry, and 3 infantry. And for the Confederates, which is doing artillery, but they had infantry last turn and artillery the turn before. So that first artillery went up and joined Jackson. The infantry are there, and now we're going to send the artillery piece up to join them. Okay, so So infantry. Yep. Okay, cool. There we go. Vote is passed. We'll go infantry for Union. And so they would come on there and they'll march up to there in a moment. So Union infantry to Front Royal. Yep, I see exactly what you're saying there, David. But maybe it's time. Anyway, infantry to Front Royal. Actually, before I say to Front Royal, you Union players, do you want the infantry to go to Front Royal, or do you want them to try and do a flanking march or an envelopment? I'll kind of leave that again to you guys to make that call. I would say probably going straight would be the best option because it was quite a small Union force garrisoning the town. They've got a few extra units now because of the retreat, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, next up, we've actually got the turn options. And let's see what the polling brought out for us. So, turn 3 options for the Union and for the Confederates. Here we go. Where are they? So, this turn we had for the Union, option 3 with 52%. Okay, so option 3 was Caesar. Similar to option 2, we only launch an offensive in the center to split the enemy from their depots. Okay, so for the Union, the plan of attack for this turn is that we hold in the south and we hold in the north. And then with this army, we try and cut through and split the Confederate lines. Cool. Go support the main force blocking Ewell and send them to Front Royal. Cool. All right, so yeah, these guys will go to Front Royal. So that's the overall plan that's been issued for the Union this turn. Is big strike through the center, everyone else kind of holding firm. As for the Confederates, with 62%, we've gone for option 1, and that sees Johnson holding in the south, whilst Jackson and Ewell continue their advances in the north. Jackson with the intent to destroy Banks' command, whilst Ewell's intent is to capture Front Royal and then march on to Manassas Gap. Cool. So that ties in with what we've been talking about. And as far as sort of aggression levels, what have we got? For the Union, 58% said fight the enemy if the enemy is weaker and withdraw if they're stronger. So more of a cautious stance. And the Confederates, with 65%, have said exactly the same thing. Okay, so based off of that, do any of you have any thoughts or suggestions before we start doing the movement? I have a wrinkle for the Union plan. The army at Strasbourg either defends, or if Jackson moves south or west, then makes a pinning attack. Yep, as they withdraw. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, fair play. So, as I see it right now, let's have a think. Same for the southernmost federal force. Yeah, I think from the Union perspective, that's the most important thing, isn't it? It's trying to pin the Confederates so that they can't merge, basically. Whilst for the Confederates, yeah, they just got to keep pushing and trying to keep the Union divided. So with initiative to the Confederates, we said that their reinforcements there, the artillery, will be moving to Harrisonburg. So that's that. They are holding down there. These chaps, we didn't actually have anything on the strategic maps. So as any of you are playing, or if any of you are playing as Confederates, have a consideration now. Do we hold them where they are? I think that's probably the best tactic. Or do we dispatch them north or south? But I'll leave that to you guys to make your call. As for these two groups, obviously, General Ewell is advancing, and he's hitting Front Royal, and Jackson is advancing up on Strasbourg. Let's have a quick look at what the strengths are in those towns. We will have this detachment of infantry coming across, but they will arrive as reinforcements once the battle has been made. But at the end of last turn, Union troops in Strasbourg, they've got 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so they've got 12 units in Strasbourg now because they had the troops which marched down from the south and were retreating from the north. So that's 4 medium-sized infantry regiments, 2 tiny infantry regiments. Sorry, 3 tiny infantry regiments, 1 large infantry regiment, 2 small artillery, 1 large artillery, and 1 small cavalry. So a pretty hefty force there, especially in defence. Whilst Jackson, who's coming against them, has 3 infantry medium, 2 infantry small, 2 artillery, and 2 cavalry. So slightly smaller force than the Union, but I think we should probably see what happens. As for Ewell at Front Royal, he has 1 infantry regiment, which is large, 1 infantry regiment, which is medium, 1 infantry regiment small, and 1 medium artillery. And the Union have 1 medium infantry, 1 small artillery, and then they've also got 2 small cavalry and an additional small infantry, actually. So they've got 1 medium infantry, 1 small infantry, 2 small cavalry, 1 artillery, and they'll be getting this infantry coming up. Pretty comparable. For the Rebs, keep in the south, attack both Strasbourg. If Fort Royal looks too strong to attack, hold position. Sorry if mistyping. Trying to do quickly. No worries. Okay, I think in Front Royal, I think we're pretty well equal on numbers, so that should be a pretty fair fight. Strasbourg, I think the Union have slight advantage overall, but the numbers on paper, as I've just read them out, aren't everything, because if you remember the end of battle reports, which I do, it actually shows the overall strength of the unit. So although the Union might have a large regiment, if it's only 50% at strength, it's no longer technically a large regiment. But so as far as manpower is concerned, they're about equal. So I think we're going to have a good fight there, and I think we're going to have a good fight here. Okay. Down in the south, again, just to give you an update down there, we've got Johnson with 2 medium infantry, 1 small infantry, and 1 artillery. And facing against him is, in the pass, 3 infantry medium and 1 cavalry. So those 2 are basically the same, except the Union have cav and the Confederates have artillery. In the center here, we've got 1 small infantry detachment and 1 artillery detachment. And the Union at Brandywine have General Fremont in command. They've got 1 large infantry regiment, 2 medium infantry regiments, and 1 medium artillery. Okay. So back to the movement. For the Union, they are going to be coming across. And again, I'll just quickly put this question to Union commanders. Are they coming straight in and striking Harrisonburg? Seems the most logical. That's what I would think, but just correct me if you want them to be doing something differently. But I think that's about right. Cool. But yeah, just put a comment in if you think they should be doing anything else. And where are we on the notes? Cool. So battles to fight. We've got Front Royal. We have got Strasbourg. And we have got Harrisonburg. Charge. Exactly. Fixed bayonets. Cool. And that is, I believe, all the movement for this turn. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. I will write up the actual orders of battle based off of all of the previous turns' notes once we're finished, so I won't bore you with that. See if there's anything else. Cohesion of armies, that's for me to do. Unit experience, that's for me to do after the battles have been fought. Logistics. Yeah, cool. So that's all of the basics for this turn. And I think this is going to be a pretty interesting. You're a general of my school, David. Yeah. I think this is going to be a pretty interesting turn, to be honest, because if the Union break through here, which, to be honest, I think they're going to, because although we've got artillery and infantry unit, the infantry are small. and they're fighting against basically a formed army. So unless they get all the luck in the world, I think they're going to have to withdraw. That's a question actually I'll ask to confederates. If this force needs to withdraw, should they be looking to withdraw south, north, or to the east? Again, I would say probably south to try and fall back on Staunton and the supplies. And then they could possibly work with Johnson. But yeah, what do you think about that? Up in the north, this will be an interesting battle here at Front Royal. Again, if the south to Staunton, cool, yeah, that makes sense. And for the same question to you, Union players, if the Union armies are defeated, should they be marching from Front Royal to Manassas Gap, or should they be trying to cross over and head towards, say, Winchester? If things don't work out for the Union at Strasbourg, they need to fall back to Winchester and make a large force. Yep, I think that's the correct thing. That way they can unite and then go after the Confederates and possibly take Jackson out or take Ewell out. Run away. Cool. Yeah, that just gives me a bit of an idea for when I'm drawing the maps afterwards as to which direction I should be making the markers withdraw to. But yeah, I think that's pretty well it for this turn. We've got all the bits there at the moment for yeah, so last turn there were 2 points for the the Conservatives for the Confederates, and the Union hadn't had any victory points. There weren't any battles last turn, so it was unchanged. So this turn starts with the Confederates on 2 and the Union on 0. So it's still got sort of anywhere to go. We're only on turn 3, so we're only really a quarter of the way through. So there's still plenty to see big changes. That's pretty much a historical plan, yeah. The Union in the north should draw Confederates even further north. Yeah, I think that's the key, isn't it? If they can draw the Confederates up, then this whole area is just exposed to this army if it can make it through. But then again, maybe next turn, in that case, this Johnson army needs to attack and try and destroy Union force, and then he'd be free to march up and start burning Cumberland or something. Who knows? We'll see how things turn out this turn. But then again, maybe we turn him around and he tries to beat them. Maybe Jackson turns around. So many options. Yeah. Do any of you guys have any questions about the rules? Any ideas? Any thoughts about the rules? Anything you would like to see more of or less of? Because yeah, I'm always interested in hearing what you guys have to say. Cool. Okay, I'll take that as mostly everyone's pretty happy with how things are moving. I know I am, that's for sure. I was just thinking next week. Is it next week? Next week's fine. I'll be on like normal. The following week, I've got to go to Australia with work for the week. So we won't be doing the live on the Friday. It'll be on the Saturday because I fly back on Friday. So that'll be the only delay at that stage. But as for next week, we should just be on like normal. So I'll just do a reminder then. Cool. Yep, I'm glad to hear that they're playable. Loving so far on this week. Okay, awesome. Glad that you are all enjoying it. That's good. So thank you very much. How long a flight? I think it's about 3 hours, approximately. I think we fly at 9 and land at about 12:30, something like that. So not too bad. Plus they pay for the hotel, so it's quite a good trip. Yeah, the only downside is actually I'll probably be able to do all of the editing when I'm on the plane, so that shouldn't. I don't think we'll have much of a delay. The only delay will be instead of going live on Friday, it'll be on Saturday. So no, I hope. So hopefully either the Union or the Confederates can keep their advances going without any delays by the Australians. Anyway, I think that pretty well brings us to the end. Only downside, you're in Australia. I know. That just gets us Americans like a quarter way across the country. Yeah. I know. Yeah, it's amazing how big these places are. I mean, even Australia is enormous. I mean, it takes 3 hours to get over to Australia from New Zealand, but then I think it's about 8 hours or 12 hours or something to fly from one side of Australia to the other. It's pretty well the same size as the US. It's huge. With, I think it's only about 20 million people in Australia. It's really quite small. Unless any of you guys are Australians, you can correct me. But yeah, huge place. So, without anything else from me, I think that's probably it for this week. I am, for one, could be worse. You could be like shit. Fair enough. Yeah, I've never actually been there. Where have I been? I was in Kent. I've been in Dorset, Devon, Hereford, Gloucester, and I was based in Birmingham for 8 months when I was in the military. Don't want to go back there. And I was based in London and Knightsbridge for 2 years. So yeah, I've been around a bit, but never been to Lancashire. So yeah, could well be the worst. But yeah, thanks guys anyway for joining in and for the comments. As I said, I think it's going to be a good turn. You're going to have good 2 or 3 battles for sure. Yeah, looking forward to it. Preston for free. Oh, interesting. Need to visit Yorkshire. I've always wanted to go to Yorkshire. Now we're just going to go into just talking. Need to visit Yorkshire. Yeah, I did always want to go up there. But when I was with the army, we always had other places to go to. And when I was out of the army, I had other things like traveling to New Zealand to do. So I never actually got up there. I also wanted to go up to Scotland, but maybe one day. More. That's enough. Cool. Thanks, guys, anyway. And I will take care.